So, here's the next little bit of news. Apparently, now they're saying that there is going to be a Code Veronica remake. Yeah, that's probably going to be the next RE game in line. Well, either that or the RE5 remake, but who knows about that one? I mean, I know the success of RE4 definitely led the developers to want to rush out the next sequel, but that doesn't change the fact that Resident Evil 5 got a bad reputation. Although I strongly believe that over years, people can definitely change their mind and they'll realize that they had a golden gem. It's just they did not know they wanted that, or they just weren't ready for it. Sometimes we're just not ready for these things. But anyways, let's talk about the main topic of this video, that being a Code Veronica remake. Now, if they really do make a remake for Code Veronica, there's got to be a lot of shit that they got to change. I mean, for starters, that's one of the games I usually avoid when it comes to playing the originals, because unfortunately that is one of the originals. But Code Veronica, there's just so many things about it that I could not get into. Now, the one version I have been playing is the PS2 version, and unfortunately when it came to a remaster of that game for modern consoles like the PS4, they ported the PS2 version, and they say that the Dreamcast version is way better. Like the settings are so, I don't know, the picture just looks perfect. And I've seen some examples and I can see what they mean. Although I still don't see that being like enough of a reason to say, oh, this game is amazing. A lot of people love it. I'm not gonna bash it. Well, I'm gonna say the reasons why I didn't enjoy it. I think a lot of people already know since I streamed an entire playthrough of that game, and you can see my experience throughout the that long ass playthrough. The main complaints would be that the whole environments, they look very stale, very grainy and foggy, desaturated colors everywhere. That really kills it, because you look at the original games and those pre-rendered backgrounds of the fixed camera angle, the stages and all, dude, that was beautiful. That was art. That was like a painting for every single room and angle. But here, with Code Veronica, everything was just so desaturated. They were no longer using pre-rendered backgrounds, unfortunately. So they had to go with just regular polygonal models or so. And it just, when it comes to games back then, in the early or mid 2000s, those graphics, they likely don't age well. And that's the thing about Code Veronica. For me, it just didn't age well at all. The dialogue didn't do so well, at least for the English version, some would say, for Claire. The villains, oh my god. You know what, I even have a list here. Let me see where to start with. Let's start with the Ashford family. Yeah, the villains themselves, they need to be altered. If anything, I strongly encourage that they let Alexander, the father of the Ashfords, be included in the story in some way. They don't have to kill him off right away. If he canonically, well, all villains will canonically get killed, but if he had to die, then find a way to make it work. But if anything, maybe they could put a twist to it and they would think he's dead, whereas the entire time he was behind the scenes, and seeing if maybe he could really trust putting the throne on his children's hands, you know? Something like that. It's just, we don't really get much about Alexander Ashford. In fact, I feel like we probably got more info on him thanks to the what was it? Was it the Dark Side Chronicles that included a Code Veronica scenario? Yeah, I believe that's what it was. yeah, that's Dark Side Chronicles. I want to see more with that character. I mean, he is the one that created all those abominations for sure there. Ooh, and don't even get me started on Alfred Ashford. Dude, that is legitimately the worst villain in Resident Evil history. I mean, try to top his ass off. Who the hell laughs like that in the first place? Oof. Again, I gotta turn to the Dark Side Chronicles version of Code Veronica, where they changed those characters and made them not seem as annoying as they originally were. So if anything, they could always look at they could look at the Dark Side version of Code Veronica for some notes. Now, one of the next things listed here that should be included in the remake that would make it impressive is the fact that it featured dual weapons, well, dual wielding right? And if you could do that, oh my god, it would be so cool to see if they figure out a way to let you fire 2 weapons at the same time, but aim at multiple enemies without it automatically aimed at 2 separate enemies. Like, what if they found a way to make it work with both joysticks, right? Each joystick can control the aim of each weapon you're holding. I feel like they could work something with it right there. Your character cannot move, they'll have to stand still. That could be a way to sort of, how do you say, be like balancing it, where it's not too OP, because you can't move while shooting. So yeah, that would be the sacrifice for it. They have to do that, because that's one of the strong things about Code Veronica. One of the things that I did appreciate that was a change. And if they don't figure out a way to make that work, damn, that's gonna be a big missed opportunity. I mean, seriously, sacrificing the character's chance to move around while they're shooting, while they're aiming and shooting, that'd be perfect. I feel like that could work. Now, aside from the dual weapons, creative customization for the bow gun is a necessity. Because if you could do that, then you could turn one of the lamest weapons into one of the greatest weapons in the RE franchise. Because that's the thing that I liked about the grenade launcher originally. The fact that you could change the fire rounds, the grenade rounds, acid rounds, and then the best ones that were unfortunately excluded in the remake, the freeze rounds. So if you could do something similar to that with the bow gun, customized explosive rounds, rounds, arrows, like flame arrows or tasing arrows, explosive arrows like with Rambo. They could do stuff like that, right? They could get creative. And if anything, go even further and let you pick up items to like probably strap to the tip of that arrow. I don't know, I'm just thinking that if anything, they could just try to get creative like the Green Arrow does with his punching glove at the end of an arrow. Something, right? Because, I mean, in the end, it doesn't have to be extremely serious. They don't have to take it serious. That's what Resident Evil, the fun part of Resident Evil kicks in. Because they don't always take that shit serious, and they make some funny features, such as ninja costumes. You never know. Now, one of the enemies I would like to see something more from is with the Bandersnatch. That dude should really utilize that stretchy arm. I want to see that thing really, like, put us on the edge of our seats. Since that game has a lot of, like, moving up and down, up mountains or whatever, like climbing up surfaces and stuff, I feel like the Bandersnatch should be able to grab you and then just pull your ass all the way down, swing you around or something. He's got to be able to utilize the arm where he swings all the way where you're at, and you're like, God damn it. Like, you'll try to avoid him, and he immediately moves over to your side. Maybe you could only damage him on that little tentacle nub that he has on the opposite arm. Maybe something like that, so his face is not always, well, the face is not always the main weak point for every enemy. You could do something else with this guy. Find his weak point elsewhere. Same goes for Steve Burnside. I don't want that dude to be annoying. Make him different. I don't know how different. He was not one of my favorite characters, and I can't think of anything nice to say except for, once again, turning to the Dark Side Chronicles version of Code Veronica, where they altered him, and he wasn't as annoying or creepy as he was in the original. Now, what can we do for Chris, aka Robert Paulson? Which version would we end up getting if they really are remaking Code Veronica? Because remember, we have 2 face models for Robert Paulson, aka Chris. The RE7 one, and then the Resident Evil 8 one. Which one will they go with? Which Robert Paulson will we get? And also, can we get the Nosferatu as like a pursuer? Because he was probably the best looking creature, enemy, boss, whatever, in that game. I feel like that's the one enemy that stands out of all the other creatures, as well as Veronica herself. But yeah, the Nosferatu was a creative boss. Make his ass more in the story, like include him more as a pursuer, basically. Turn his ass into a pursuer. I want to see his ass climbing walls like a spider, reaching you in areas when you least expected. I would love it if they utilized the sound effects like they did with Mr. X's heavy footsteps, you know? So for this guy, you could hear his claws, maybe like those spider-like claws, like as it's getting closer to you, and you won't know where it comes through. And it'd be cool if he can break through. No, like what if he comes out of like air vents or breaks through a window, and man, like they could utilize his ass a lot more and make him tough, make his ass really terrifying, like we felt when it came to Mr. X. I want that shit. That's one of the perks when it comes to Resident Evil. Them pursuers need to be included. As much as we can hate them and feel annoyed, dude, they're part of it. They're part of the Resident Evil staple, as you could say. And let's see. I mean, so yeah, with him, I would love to see him swinging around through trees like Tarzan, if anything. Drop it in out of nowhere. Oh, man. And the Tyrant fight on the plane, dude. Oh, God. They got to do something about that. Something must be done from that, because I hated that one. That was one of the worst parts of the Code Veronica games. Oh, man. And one of the things that will likely happen, though, cut enemies. They got to remove some of the characters or enemies. They always do that. They even did that with Resident Evil 4. But then they brought him back on Ada's scenario, I think. Her DLC one. So it's like, damn you, Capcom. You really treated the crap out of Resident Evil 4 as your lucky charm. But will they cut out the spiders again, though? Because spiders were an even bigger part in Code Veronica. I mean, for fuck's sake, one of them is a boss.
Who could have done this? Alexia.
That is how I dispose of insignificant bugs, said the spider to the fly. How do you wish to die?
You can't tell me you're gonna cut off the boss right there. Oof. And then they also have that gravedigger-like creature, the gulp worm. They cut out the gravedigger from the remake, so will that happen here? And they also have the moths. Will those be cut? They were cut from Resident Evil 2 remake. There's so many creatures that were cut in the originals that did make it into this one. So will they finally introduce them? I mean, they got no excuses. If they want to like say that this new RE engine is the shit, well, can it animate flying creatures such as a crow? Or is that the reason why you couldn't do it and you were like, let's just exclude it? Same goes for creepy crawlers such as a spider. Is it really difficult to have 8 legs moving around at the same time? They could find ways around that. I mean, for example, an Outbreak, remember that Leech Man? The Leech Man had a weird animation to it. It was like low quality, but you could see they did something so that every little leech around that human host was moving. If they were able to do that shit back then, they could definitely do something more with an 8-legged creepy crawler, right? There's no excuse, Capcom. Unless you're just boasting about this new RE engine, but it's not that good and you guys don't want to admit it. Well, let's see. If I could say anything else, last bit of advice for Capcom, I'd say throw in some of the canceled creatures. Trust me, the fans will love you for it.
My little experiment at the Colosseum was so much fun, don't you think? Though I guess sometimes a worker ant will turn on his queen.
Chris, are you okay?
Oh, that's right. You two are brother and sister, aren't you? I had a brother once too. He really wasn't much fun. He couldn't even wake me up on time. But I've released him of all his responsibilities.
You think everyone in this world is here to serve you, don't you?
Serve me? No. I think everyone else is here to serve my experiments.
Well, that's it for the video. Check out my Patreon. I post new content there, new exclusive content there every day. Just for $1, you get more entertainment there than Hulu or today's streaming services, because if you think about it, you probably only watch 1 or 2 shows out of the hundreds of shows and movies that are available. Oh, but they hide all the good shit and make you pay extra to watch them once. Not over at the Patreon, homie. Pay once a month and you get everything. All exclusivos. You get to check out all the new comics I've been working on. And all the new videos, reviews, and rants, and podcast vids, all of them, you name it. And if you're at it, might as well check out the merch.